This is your home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Thanks for joining us on Joy News Prime. In our headlines tonight, list of MMDC's nominees finalized by President Akufo-Addo. Expect the announcement soon. This is one of the many assurances by government 9 months into the second term of the administration.
Report by the Dambuchi-led committee was submitted to the president. He has undertaken due scrutiny of the list that was submitted to him, and yesterday the process was completed.
We have details as red flags are raised about the impact of the delays on the development of local government. Now, ECOWAS demands the political regime in Guinea set up a transition period to return the country to civilian rule within a year. We'll speak to Elton Brobe, who is at the ECOWAS Summit, for us. Also tonight, access to water is a major challenge to some communities. We'll look at climate change and what can be done to accelerate Ghana's adaptation programs. And later, the General Agricultural Workers Union called for an audit into the Planting for Food and Jobs program following a decision by the Ministry of Agri to halt the export of food to neighboring countries in the face of shortages and price hikes on the market. And later in business, Ministry of Trade and Industry reconvening Committee on Foreign Retail Trade to deal with the current impasse between Nigerian and Ghanaian trade unions.
We have our investment promotion laws in this country, and the laws of our country are clear as to how trading activities should be conducted in this country and as to who can trade where.
Johnny's Prime is coming to you live from our studios here at Fanofa, Kukumlemle, Accra. We're on your digital TV because we are free to air. DSTV, channel 421, Go TV 144. My name is Ernest Mino. Stay tuned in for the details. Hello again, thank you very much for joining us. Now, ECOWAS is demanding the political regime in Guinea set up a transition period to return the country to civilian rule within a year. Also, the military junta is asked to immediately undertake conditional and conditional release of the deposed Alpha Condé. These are demands contained in the yet-to-be-released communique reached after an extraordinary summit held in Accra. Let's speak to Presidential Affairs correspondent Elton Brobe on the communique we have intercepted. Elton, what more have you gleaned on the decision that has been made at the meeting?
Well, so Ernest, we're waiting for the ECOWAS Commission President to formally speak to the media at a news conference to outline the outcome of this one-day summit that looked at the political crisis in Guinea and ways that ECOWAS can help bring some sanity to that country. So what we have is a draft that is awaiting the presidential signing, and then the news conference will start. So basically, they have 7 points that obviously will form the basis upon which ECOWAS will react formally to the crisis in Guinea. First is a demand for the unconditional and immediate release of President Alpha Condé, and they want this done immediately without delay.
Okay.
Secondly, they are recommending the imposition of a travel ban on all members of the National Council for Rally and Development. This is the umbrella body under which the military regime is operating. So they want travel ban of all CNRD leaders, as well as their family members and supporters. This measure, according to ECOWAS, will not apply to invitations extended by ECOWAS, the African Union, the European Union, and the United Nations. Thirdly, they are recommending the freezing of all financial assets of members of the CNRD, including the self-imposed head of state, Colonel Mahami, and fourthly, the setting up of a political transition of a maximum duration of just 1 year. So within 1 year, they expect that they are able to hold elections and return the country to constitutional rule. The report is also recommending the nomination of a civilian to lead a reference transition and the appointment of a facilitator by the president of the commission to accompany the process of a return to constitutional rule. And lastly, the report is suggesting the creation of a monitoring committee comprising of ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations to help, shepherd Guinea into constitutional rule. This is what we've been told has been submitted to the heads of state that participated in this meeting. called by President Akufo-Addo, and very soon the Commission President will hold a news conference and also take questions from the journalists here.
Very interesting points there. But Elton, we understand the leader of the military junta is holding a parallel meeting to return the country to civilian rule. What more can you tell us about that meeting?
So that's information we picked this morning right after the opening ceremony. A source close to the foreign minister told me before he submitted her report to the meeting that at the same time that President Akufo-Addo was meeting leaders from the regional bloc, the military regime had also announced a 4-day consultative meeting, more like a people's assembly, where they are expecting that within the next 4 years, Guineans from all walks of life will have the opportunity to speak to the issues of governance and to suggest the best possible governance for Guinea within the interim.
Okay.
And then any other concern that they may have with the Constitution. Remember that the Constitution was amended and that gave Alpha Conde the opportunity to start a third term, which according to some people triggered the uprising that support his administration. Now, the military regime is saying that they put together this 4-day consultative meeting because of feedback they got after listening to the various political parties, civil society groups, and foreign diplomats stationed in Guinea. And therefore, they needed to expand the discussion, bring in everybody, for everybody to speak his or her mind, and then the consensus that will come out of it will determine
the way forward.
Which governance, the way forward. So until these matters are resolved, it will be difficult for them to comply with any roadmap that ECOWAS will impose on them. Now we're waiting to hear from the ECOWAS Commission President how they hope to incorporate what is happening in Guinea and what has transpired here, and how they hope to enforce the implementation of the roadmap that will be imposed on them. And
indeed, that is something that we're waiting to hear from President Akufo-Addo. Elton, thank you very much. Of course, Joy News is there for you. Once the chairman of ECOWAS, President Akufo-Addo, is ready to address the media, we'll take you there. Now, away from that, it's been almost 10 months into the second term of the Akufo-Addo administration, and for the first time under any government, there have been delays in the appointment of Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives, MMDCEs. Once again, there is the assurance that the wait should soon be over. Communications Director of the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, taking to social media on Wednesday, announced that the said list has been finalized and will be on Thursday submitted to the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Boche. According to him, Ghanaians should expect the list to be announced by the minister very soon. His announcement comes at a time when the minority in parliament and some members of the general public have expressed worry over the delay in the appointment of MMDCEs by the president. Now, they describe the development as unconstitutional and a drawback to the country's decentralization drive. But Eugene Ahin disagrees. He's been explaining why government delayed in making the appointment.
These are going to be the president's representatives at the local governance structure of our country. So this process has been an exhaustive one. It started off at the regional level. A shortlist was submitted to the national level, and the report by the Dambuchi-led committee was submitted to the president. He has undertaken due scrutiny of the list that was submitted to him, and yesterday the process was completed. That was yesterday in the evening, and I've been reliably informed that this morning the list has been dispatched to the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Government. So whatever be the case, I'm sure as soon as possible the Minister would duly put out that list. Governance at the local level was affected in any way whatsoever, because first and foremost, at the expiration of the term of the outgoing MMDC, the President through the Chief of Staff indicated to all those outgoing DCs to stay put until such time that he's ready to let them go. I mean, just to make sure that there's no vacuum at the local level and to make sure that development continues unabated. I mean, that has been done. But as I indicated, persons who are to be MMDCs are the President's representatives at the local level of our governance structure. So he has to get it right. He can't afford any mistakes. And that has been the reason why he instituted a two-tier vetting approach, if I can put it that way, at the regional level, at the national level. All those things were done, and he also had to satisfy himself, because at the end of the day, they are his appointees, not the appointees of a committee or a particular group. They are his appointees, so he needs to make sure that each person who is going to a district, each person who is going to a municipality or a metropolitan area is well clothed with the necessary expertise and experience to be able to make sure that the agenda he has for the next 4 years is duly carried out. So in terms of a delay, well, I don't see it as a delay, because, as I said, there was no vacuum occasioned by this so-called delay. All the old MMDCs were asked to stay put until such time that he gets ready to appoint new ones. So I don't think the delay has occasioned any issue whatsoever at the local level.
Eugene Ahin adds that though the president has taken time to make the selection, some names that have made it to the list may still be rejected. Let's go on to Zoom now and do a quick check on the list. John Editor Araba Kumsin joins us. Araba, has it arrived at the local government ministry as announced by the Director of Communications at the presidency?
Ernest, that tweet that was sent out yesterday by Eugene Ahin, of course, the expectation was that it will be made available to the local government ministry this morning. But our checks show that as of 6 p.m. Thursday, that is today, the ministry was yet to take delivery of this finalized list that Mr. Eugene Ahin speaks of. Our sources at the ministry say that they have not been given any list of nominees as announced earlier. Ernest.
Thank you very much. That's John News Editor Araba Kumsim checking with the local government ministry on this list that is supposed to be delivered. But what names have made it to the list? Joining me on Zoom is my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson. Kwesi, what have you learned about this list? You'd have to unmute your device, Kwesi, so we can hear you.
Right. So, Ernest, I am saying that if you study the list carefully, you will get the understanding that most of the MMDCs, the chief executive themselves, will be maintained. There are a few other places that government is yet to take a decision on the names that have been recommended by the committee who were tasked to interview the applicants for the various positions as MMDCs. Again, there were some places where there is concern about the attitude of the MCE, and as a matter of fact, they recommended that government should not appoint them. Now, a clear case, and I'm bringing you to the Greater Accra region where we are at the moment. A clear case is about the Bon Katamato, for example. A total different person was recommended for the position of MCE. Now, the justification is that the constituency is sharply divided between the parliamentary candidates and the MCE. And Ernest, if you followed the 2020 election, you could recall that there were a lot of allegations against the PC, the parliamentary candidates, and the MCE. Yeah. Allegations were that the MCE was working to undermine the victory of the parliamentary candidates. So, based on this information, they have agreed that the MCE should be kicked out, and a whole total, a different person who is not aligned to either the MCE nor the parliamentary candidate should be appointed as the MC. And this is in the person of Mr. Engineer Felix Tete. So he is the man who has been recommended by the committee to be appointed as the MC for that area. If you come to Greater Accra, for example, for Ashaman constituency, the MC has been recommended to be maintained. The AMA, for example, near Jesoa, the committee recommended that it should be maintained. If you come to Ningo Pram constituency, for example, the MC has been recommended to be maintained. But interestingly, if you go to the Bono region, a few of the assemblies do not have. They couldn't even file an applicant to be interviewed, because if you look at the list, we are told that no decision taken yet, and there are no applicants or persons or individuals who are vying for that position. Their names are not there. So Wenchi, Tyne, and German North, these are areas that we don't have any individual there. And finally, to the Western North constituency, the committee believes that there were some parliamentary candidates who really worked. However, they could not win the election. And so they recommended that they should be given the appointment as the district chief executive of the area. So our win, for example, Bia West and then Bia East, the parliamentary candidates have been asked to fill the position of the district chief executive.
Kwesi, thank you very much. And these are names, and of course, we are getting from the committee that did the vetting of MMDCEs for those who applied. And John is following this very closely. Once the list is released, you can be sure that we'll get you updated. Now, access to water is a major challenge to some communities in the Savalugu district of the northern region. The only natural source of water for 5 communities in the area has dried out as a result of the impact of climate change. Prince Apia traveled to the area and has more in the following report.
Heavily pregnant Fuseni Fatima carries 4 gallons on her head and walks more than 20 minutes to get water. Covering this distance has been her daily routine for months, even in her condition. Children are not spared this ordeal. 10-year-old Saiba Aishetu and her friends ride bicycles for close to an hour to get water from the neighboring community. Resting on this scaffold is a water tank right in the middle of Zogu community, meant to supply water to residents. The idle water tank is connected to a solar mechanized well drilled in 1999. The well was, however, constructed by international NGO World Vision for the community in 2015. But water does not flow through the pump anymore because some of the solar panels are rusted and damaged. Adam Tahiru is a community leader.
So I'm a Dixma Dicunia de Malada Dalafi, Quablen Yedna Chokunia. I bought Uncle, Comcana Boyanco. And I teach you Tamshon when I do Copan and Mona Capitan Bad not to quiet. Soon shall Gani. How come my problem check at the Sukutoma? Cat the Sukutoma carbon rich. One problem.
Very critical and located in the center of these 5 communities is this dam, which is supposed to be a water source. 5 communities, Jagun, Kuku, Teho, Sanjago, and Zogo, fetch water from here. The water dam is now a bare land due to the dry spell. So this is the net of someone who used to fish here. But mind you, this was a source of drinking water and a source of fish for residents living around this particular area. But because of the impact of climate change, the harsh weather conditions, all the water on this particular land has dried out and it's now left with this cracked soil. To mo bang ma ba shimbe ro to sur la gomenti ne yin media ne mo ne cha kun so wa pare gonti mi ro kwamba ka lete susuno mo almani ne satana to maladira amfa no kor wun ne shan. Residents in these communities are predominantly farmers and dependent on this source of water to cultivate their farms. The farmers are currently unable to cultivate vegetables because there's no water for irrigation. Mr. Tahiru says a good number of its youth are migrating down south for greener pastures. So the born command to Malmotatalma. Sashelton Janwadinia to Malamotatale. To Zobima min to Bima Banchan Kaya, Tiam Malakwaptishi, Anya Bokulan Tuchang. Mitigating the impact of climate change remains critical to secure the livelihoods of the people here. Else, the woes of Saiba Aishetu and Fuseni Fatima, for instance, will continue for a long time until the water problem is fixed. Prince Apia reporting.
Let's go over to Zoom now and speak to Professor Isaac Tete, climate scientist at Department of Environmental Science at the KNUST. Thank you very much, sir. Now, what is Ghana's mitigation, measure, or what are the efforts with respect to climate change and the rains that we are not experiencing?
All right, thank you. First of all, we know that climate is a very complex phenomenon, and we have to approach it in various ways. One important thing that we need to focus on is how to mitigate climate, which is emanated from man-made or anthropogenic effects. Precisely, we are emitting so many greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Then we're also destroying the land. When we perturb the land, we also emit some of these greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And when these atmospheric circulations continue to take place, eventually they also affect the land and the rainfall patterns. And therefore, one way to mitigate climate change is to find a solution to it. And one of the solutions is to do what is technically called climate geoengineering. And when we talk about climate geoengineering, we have two facets: how to manipulate the energy coming from the sun so that it wouldn't be so much intense. Okay. And also at the same time, trying to sequester or capture greenhouse gases, which tend to warm the land or warm the atmosphere. So when the warming is so rampant or intense, then we have high evapotranspiration. Okay. And when these things occur, then we expect that the land will become dry. As we saw in the picture, they have become cracked. And in this situation, it will be protracted as long as human beings continue to perturb the environment or the climate system.
But can we accelerate our adaptation programs? If so, what can we do?
Right. Adaptation can be done, but it is very, very costly. We have to understand that. It is very costly, but we also have to start from somewhere. One way to do that adaptation is to be mindful of reforestation. You see, the more you try to plant trees, the more mitigate you tend to sequester or capture the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, which will tend to retain heat in the atmosphere and cause drought and dryness. Okay. So the plants are able to capture all these greenhouse gases like CO2, methane, and others to ensure that large quantities in the atmosphere are arrested, and the plant will be able to use it to produce oxygen that will go to help the ecosystem very much. Okay. So our forestation program should be very, very, very critical. Then also we shouldn't disturb the land, because when you make the land bare, then there's a concept that is called albedo. Albedo is the fraction of light that is dispersed back into the atmosphere or into space. So when you disturb the land, there's surface roughness, which will create conditions where there will be vertical lifting of wind and moisture are all curtailed. When this happens, there's no way that moisture can be carried into the atmosphere for it to be condensed to come down as rain. So we have to be looking into the way that we are disturbing the land. The more land we disturb, the more we also interfere with the processes that should take place on the Earth's surface that will lead to convection or rainfall patterns. So these are the...
Yes,
these are the... Yeah, please go on.
Ghana's national climate change policy, for instance, demands that we build resilient climate infrastructure. You think that we are on course with that policy?
All right. Thank you. I think we are making a headway, but more room. We need to act more and swiftly. I think recently during the World Environment Day, I think the government did very well by trying to urge all of us to plant trees. When you plant a tree, it is one of the mitigation measures. Okay. And it's going to go a long way to capture the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which tend to disturb the climate system. So that effort alone is commendable. And at the local level too, all of us should be mindful and should be enthusiastic in planting trees and certain shrubs and even certain perennials, such as we call it kinaf trees. It's a crop which uses it to make jute or sacks. They are able to capture large quantities of CO2 in the atmosphere. We also have to be mindful of trying to do or adapt technologies that will minimize pollution from source. And I think this is the essence of gold-green technology which has come on board. So the government has done very well, but we also need to accelerate. And the acceleration calls for good education for every Ghanaian to understand the concept of climate change and its implications.
And Prof, just before you take leave of us, there are some who are watching and saying that this whole climate change is a borrowed, term and a program from the West. This may be far from us. In just 30 seconds, are we experiencing the effect of climate change here in Ghana? Is this real?
Right. Yes, climate change is real. It's not a hoax at all. The pictures that we saw before this particular invitation, we saw the northern region, how the land is cracked, tells us that there is more to it than what we have been seeing. Climate is an unseen phenomenon. Unlike certain physical phenomenon that we tend to see, you see a lorry moving, you see vehicle moving, you see human beings moving. But climate acts in a secret way, if I should say that. So because the climate is unseen physically with the eye, you tend to accumulate our effect by and by. And at a scale, it hits us back, and the quantum is so huge that now we see its effect. So it is not a hoax at all. We see the weather patterns, and we see the changes in the weather, as well as the drought that will occasion in certain places. And all these things are manifestations of climate change. So we also have to tackle the bull by its horn and ensure that the right things are done. If we're able to do that, we can restore the climate or the environment.
I'm grateful that you could join us. That's Professor Isaac Teta, who is a climate scientist at the KNUST. Now, with the latest reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, predicting severe drought in Africa in the coming decades, Arizona-based water production firm Source looks forward to meeting water-related challenges in Ghana's rural communities and schools. Source Hydro Panel is an autonomous solar system that can collect up to 10 liters of potable water per day from the air. By harvesting water vapor from the air and condensing it into liquid atmospheric water generators, essentially extract water from the air. Chief Revenue Officer at Source Global, Robert Bartrop, spoke to John Isis Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
The Source Hydro Panel is a technology that incorporates multiple patented inventions, making it one of a kind renewable water technology that uses the power of the sun to extract clean, pollutant-free drinking water from the air. Chief Revenue Officer at Source, Robert Bartrop, in a Zoom interview said the firm is purpose-driven to partner with the government of Ghana in providing an independent source of drinking water for schools and rural communities.
Ghana would be a great opportunity for us, given the number of challenges there with the drinking water in the remote parts of the country, in particular. So we would love to do that. Maybe even something in Boku, in your hometown.
Yeah. What do we need to do to get this technology in Ghana?
We want to. We're really looking for the people for introductions to the people who are trying to solve these problems. So parts of the government, parts of the non-profit sector, and companies who are looking for improved drinking water solutions in parts of the community. They can approach us and we can either partner with them business-wise, or we can essentially invest in the water infrastructure and then allow the end users to pay for the water. And so really,
Source needs no infrastructure or electricity, and it is resistant to storms, flooding, and can produce safe, clean water in the driest place on earth. It is designed and tested to produce high-quality potable water.
How is this water stored for consumption?
Yeah, so at a really basic level, the water is stored inside the panel. So the 10 litres in a day that I get from my roof, I've got 60 litres of storage capacity in the panel. So about 6 days of production stored inside the panel in a reservoir. and that water is kept monitored for quality and also ozonated. So we maintain a really high level of quality in that water. For larger applications, like a industrial facility or a larger village installation, we also have a separate 10,000 or 20,000 litre reservoir where people can come and dispense from. So we've done community projects here in the US where we have, a town of a couple of thousand people coming to fill up reusable containers from a 20,000 litre reservoir where they can come and refill, in a circular model, their containers for their fridges.
Source water meets the primary drinking water standards established by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the World Health Organization drinking water guidelines. The technology is optimized for a wide range of conditions and can even produce water under low to moderate sun and humidity.
It's like a solar panel, it's scalable. So the more water you need, the more panels we use. And a basic household installation, like in my house here in Arizona, I've got 2 panels.
John East Prime with me, Ernest Minister.
And it's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. The Ministry of Trade and Industry is reconvening the Committee on Foreign Retail Trade to deal with the current impasse between Nigerian and Ghanaian trade unions. Head of Public Relations for the Trade Ministry, Prince Boateng, condemned an earlier decision by the Nigerian traders leaders to walk out of negotiations with their Ghanaian counterparts on the special regime laid out in a joint communique by the government of Ghana and Nigeria. Speaking on Marketplace, Prince Boateng revealed that the committee will crack the whip on foreign nationals that flout Ghana's retail laws.
Our investment promotion laws in this country and the laws of our country are clear as to how trading activities should be conducted in this country and as to who can trade where. We have realized over the years, as you are also equally aware because you've been following this issue for a long time, that some nationals, especially from West Africa, are trying to arrogate powers to themselves that they do not have. The fact that you are a member of ECOWAS does not mean, and I continue to stress this, does not mean that you can decide to flout the laws of this country. Especially now that we even have the African Continental Free Trade Area and Ghana happens to be the host. Does not mean that AFCFTA means free for all. Laws of various countries will have to be respected. And that's exactly what we expect them to do. And so, if we realize that some are trying not to respect our laws, we are telling everybody that we will crack the whip.
When you say you crack the whip, what exactly do you mean?
What I exactly mean is that the committee will be asked, is being asked to reconvene and take the needful actions to get people to respect the laws of our land. The laws are being implemented. They were only halted for particular reasons. If the discussions fail, what it means is that the status quo remains. So what cause does Guta have?
Meanwhile, the president of the Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, Kojo Amoatin, says restricting foreigners from trading is a thing of the past. He explains that African countries cannot continue to be hostile under the Continental Free Trade Agreement area.
TAG believes that the era of fighting other nationals, I'll repeat this, TAG believes the era of fighting other nationals on trade restrictions is a thing of the past. This is so important. We cannot be trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area, popularly known as AFTA, and continue to be hostile to other African countries. AFTA has come to stay, and the earlier the government collaborate with traders to promote our local traders, the better it will be for all of us.
Away from trade-related matters, Yara International, a fertilizer manufacturing company, says it will do all it can to ensure there are enough fertilizers on the market. According to the West Africa Regional Director, Dankwa Aldoyobo, the current scarcity of fertilizer is a challenge facing the industry worldwide. He, however, believes the situation will change soon as the main planting season is almost over. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 11th edition of the annual pre-harvest agribusiness exhibition and conference event.
The current fertilizer situation in Ghana, I would say, is not Ghana per se, but of course it's in Ghana. It's been impacted by the international fertilizer market. The international fertilizer market has seen very significant increases in prices and also logistics complexities. That this is something we haven't seen in over 10 years. So obviously, when you go into a situation like that, you have affordability issues become a challenge. You have logistics issue become a challenge. So I know that the industry has had a challenge of importation, not probably as much as people expected it to be, availability as much as people expected it to be. But in the midst of all these difficulties, Yara has continued to show commitment, and of course our global strength comes to play in difficult times like this, where we have continued very good imports, we have continued availability of products into the system, but we are one player in the industry, right? And I know that some of the other players have also made efforts, but we also obviously read the challenges of limited fertilizer availability at some moments. I believe that some had come through for the season. Now the main season in the country is going a little bit down. The minor season will pick up again. The challenge would be how do we see the minor season, and I think that is one that is a challenge to all of us in the industry to see what we can do to support the minor season as well.
That'll be all for business for the segment. In the meantime, do stay for sports. I'm Charles Aite.
It's time for sports. I am Hans Mensah Andor, and the 72-hour deadline to appoint the next coach of the Black Stars has ended, but the GFA is yet to name a replacement for Siki Akono, who was fired on Monday. Serbian coach Milovan Rajvac is a front-runner for the top job, but astute sports journalist Kautufor wants the job to be given to a Ghanaian instead.
If we are clamoring for a foreign coach, with all due respect to all the people around there, and particularly the politicians, then let's also clamor to get the Brits back to come and rule this country, because we messed it up big time. What have we done?
But that's absolutely...
Kwame Nkrumah would be turning in his grave.
That's not the same, right?
It is the same.
At independence, we said the black man was capable of managing his own affairs.
Good. So why the Black Stars, you don't want that? The black man, I'm quoting you, the black man is capable of managing the affairs, Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
So why won't you allow him to continue?
But it's not the evidence that shows that clearly they have not performed.
The evidence shows that anytime we've won medals, with the exception of Utufitsa, and that's because of the age factor, let's not run away from it. With the exception of Utufitsa, it has always been a local coach. That's the record. African Nations Cup, Under 17 World Cup, Under 20 we got to the final of Samdodu. Olympic Games, Samadi. Let's not run away from it.
Can you situate that history in the performance of the very gentleman we are discussing today? Sika Akono's performance was, according to many,
that is why I
have, was substandard.
That is why I have not
up to the touch.
That is why I have not argued with anybody who would argue on that perspective. Performance has not been the best. I concede that. I am not talking about CK being sacked. I'm talking about who are you going to hand it over to? Give it to a Ghanaian. That's all I'm talking about.
Does it matter? Shouldn't we just look for competent people regardless of where they come from?
If that was the case, ministers of state, competent people, and if you say that, oh, that because of nationality and the way the constitution is,
it's not possible.
Then go and take the heads of various institutions. They are the ones who you, Raymond, do your investigation and find out so much rot in the system. But honestly, on your Brunei, it's not the white. It's not, that one doesn't say it must be. So why don't you bring the whites there? And they'll run it competently. That's the only argument I'm arguing. That's my point. I think that.
But should race matter? Should the person's race...
Race should not matter, but it should be a Ghanaian. Because we have Arab Ghanaians.
Okay.
we have white Ghanaians. It should be a Ghanaian. So that should be the prerogative of a Ghanaian as far as I'm concerned.
So today, if you look at the availability that we have in this country, the people, the competence and the standards we have in the country today, can we get somebody who deliver that kind of results and the targets that was given to?
Can I behave like a typical Ghanaian in answering that question?
Not
by
asking me
also
a question.
giving you another question.
Not asking me a question,
saying
clearly.
That also, in the same vein that you talk about the Black Stars, who is available. Then who's available to run our institutions then?
I mean, can you for a second leave out the other governance structures? We are talking about a football institution.
At the moment.
That is telling everybody that it cannot be controlled or...
So you think twice?
Yes.
Before you appoint somebody.
Now, the national female soccer team, the Black Queens, will begin their Aisha Buhari Cup campaign on Friday when they clash with Bayana of South Africa. And the head coach of the Black Queens, Mercy Kwakutego, the tournament will form part of preparations for the World Cup qualifiers.
It's serving as exploratory matches for us towards the pending assignment ahead. So far, I think you've seen what the team that have paraded, and these are the people you are going to see during that. Unfortunately, we are here for Aisha Buhari Cup, so I'm not going to talk about any other thing than Aisha Buhari Cup. It means a lot because Nigeria is our sisters. So when they are having a program like this and they invite us, it's within it necessary important to us. We are very pleased to come here today. South Africa, fortunately, is the lady there in charge is my friend, so we've spoken a lot. And whatever we are going to do tomorrow, you see on the ground.
That's it for now. We'll bring you more sports later in the bulletin.
Becky is here with the latest in the world of showbiz. Good evening, Becky.
Good evening to you. And this evening we're talking poetry, and Nana Asase is calling on the media to pay attention to poetry as much as they pay attention to the music and all other forms of entertainment. He says that this is, as poetry is accepted everywhere, so Ghana should do the same.
In terms of projecting, we might not have done so much. But in terms of content quality and how far the art has come, I believe that my fellow artists and myself have really put in a lot. And so we have a backlog of content, a backlog of talent. And so you who hold the doors, the media, please give that space for this art form to come through. You don't require much. What do you require? Light, camera, standing microphone, action. Too much content for your audience out there. And so I say that especially when the media go out to cover events, they want the big man's speech. That's what typically makes the story. But if we were to make a deliberate effort and just capture those moments out of events, it would be fantastic. Those moments out of corporate events where artists like us are put on stage, to spice up the event, add some color to it, it will really go a long way to project us. Because all over the continent, in places like Kenya and South Africa, look, it's such a big thing that Ghana could also do our best and put ourselves out there.
Is it because we don't really value, what you give us? Or it's a story of we don't care?
To an extent, some people just do not care.
Okay.
Two, some people are just looking for the economic viability of whatever you're doing. In terms of if it's media, they're looking at what would sell. But if you can't really dismiss something when you have not tried it. So give it a try, find the kind of audience what kind of poetry would suit what kind of audience. Do you get my point? And I think people also are not so well informed about what.
Yeah, well, I agree with him. People are not informed.
Yeah.
And it's an art that is really, really underestimated. Pay. When you get Nana Asase, pay him.
So because people are not well informed of what poetry is, his colleague, Rhymes, is explaining to us, or has been explaining to us, what exactly poetry means.
Poetry is the father of, or the mother of all art forms. Movies start with scripts, and the beauty of script, the aesthetics of it, comes from the devices of poetry. Dance, music start with a script. It starts with writing, and to make great music, poetry is the bane. When it comes to fashion, they start with a sketch. Inspiration, they pick inspiration from every part of everything, every part of the environment. So poetry, we needed to position it rightly, and that is exactly what we've done over the years.
All right.
That's rhymes right there. Let's move away. Let's talk about Gabrielle Union. She's an American actress, and she has a book out. She's been explaining on The View exactly what the book means.
There's a lot of her experience there, especially for women.
Yes, so putting in a book and having everybody read it and feel inclusive is what she's
all right. Thank you, Becky. Maybe you should grab a copy yourself and share with us all the details.
Of course, I will.
That's it for Showbiz. Thank you very much, Becky, for the latest in the world of showbiz. If you're watching us on Joy Prime, that's it for the bulletin. Thank you so much for joining us. You find more stories on myjoyonline.com. But if you're on Joy News, we have more stories for you after this break. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Heightened feud between trading groups over land at Racecourse Market. There seems to be no end in sight in resolving an impasse between the feuding traders laying claim to a trading space at the Racecourse Market in Kumasi. A group of yam sellers and dealers in second-hand clothing who have been relocated from the central market clashed over the land they both claim have been allocated to them by city authorities. Love FM Mona Lisa Frimpong reports an intervention by the Kumasi mayor to resettle a faction of the traders to a new place is being resisted.
I am here at the Racecourse Market, and today is the second day of the market's protest by the yam, meat and tomato sellers, and some have slept here for 4 days waiting to face the second-hand clothes sellers squarely.
I am ready.
We are ready to fight them. They have hinted they will come here. If they ever come here, it would not be a nice thing.
Kumasi Mayor Osei Esibe Entry visited the market on Thursday. He assured the traders of an ongoing construction to relocate them.
We've shown them where they have to be. Those who are to be allocated places here, they know the area. The challenges that came was only yesterday, where a group of people took advantage of a graded area, went and started plying their trade over there. But as leadership, whenever there are challenges, what you need to do is to appreciate the problem and find a solution. So the yam sellers, I'm using this medium to appeal to them to calm down. The second-hand clothes sellers to calm down. There are adequate places that can be allocated to them. There shouldn't be the need to rush.
Spokesperson for the second-hand clothes dealers, Michael Amponsa, says members are not ready to trade in any new location. He warns of possible chaos if city authorities fail to give them the land.
We have brought our materials here to put up structures. The land belongs to us. We will not move to any location. We will fight till we get it.
The yam sellers have also vowed they will not move from the trading area. Nana Yafuriwa is their leader.
Our association feeds the king and royals of Asanteman. Has any second-hand clothes dealer donated to the Mensha Palace? This land belongs to Otumfuo. We are not leaving this place.
It appears the two factions are not ready to move out of this place. Let's see what happens tomorrow morning. From Kumasi for Joy News, Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
The General Agricultural Workers Union is calling for an audit into the Planting for Food and Jobs program. This comes on the back of government's decision to halt the exportation of food, especially to neighboring countries. The Agric Ministry announced this decision following the seeming shortages and price hikes on the market. Speaking to my colleague Emefa Pao, the Deputy Minister for Agric, Yafrin Pon, said the measure will help avert a crisis.
Food security is national security. So it is everybody's responsibility to ensure that
we have food in the system, the availability of it, and then the pricing too should be affordable. That is all what everybody is striving for. The situation has arisen as a result of several factors. And these factors include the global economic situation in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic that affected even the production of fertilizers and the supply of these fertilizers, transportation of these fertilizers to our country. And then secondly, the government also, because of revenue shortfalls, had challenges with payment to fertilizer suppliers. And this actually affected agriculture situation in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic that affected even the production of fertilizers and the supply of these fertilizers, transportation of these fertilizers to our country. And then secondly, the government also, because of revenue shortfalls, had challenges with payment to fertilizer suppliers. And this actually affected agriculture.
We'll bring you more on this later, but right now let me take you to the ECOWAS Summit. The president of the ECOWAS Commission is about to address the media on decisions taken today.
Briefing. It took us time to finalize a few points on the communique, so now we are ready. And I want to thank you for having been patient. As you know, we had a summit today, an ECOWAS summit, that focused essentially on the political situation in the Republic of Guinea and also on the situation in the Republic of Mali. So it was a very important summit, and the head of state took a very important decision during this summit. Now I think I will let you to ask questions if you want some specific to clarify a few points.
Okay, hello. So we have 4 people that have indicated they wanted to ask questions. You introduce yourself and the media organization you report for. Okay, sorry. You introduce yourself and the media organization you are reporting for. We have the first one is Bloomberg. Is he here?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Akol. I'm from Bloomberg. President, what are the timelines that the transition gave and demanded?
Can you speak louder? I cannot hear you.
Okay. Actually, what are the transitional timelines that ECOWAS is demanding, especially of Guinea? And would you insist on a civilian transition? And then also to ask, has the junta shared their proposed transition timeline with you? And also, do you believe that the sanctions that we would have imposed on Guinea, would it work given that they are assuring miners that they can still continue to do their business in peace? And are there other avenues to insist that ECOWAS gets what you demand from especially Guinea? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. As you know, we all know that on September 5th, there was a coup d'etat in the Republic of Guinea. And the military have taken over since that day. And 3 days later, the ECOWAS head of state met in an emergency summit to discuss this case. And if you recall what was said during this summit, the extraordinary summit which took place on the 8th September, essentially they condemned very firmly this coup d'etat, because for ECOWAS it is a non-constitutional change of power. Our rule is that any change in power must be done through democratic processes. So they condemn very firmly. They immediately decided also to suspend the Republic of Guinea from ECOWAS institution. So it's a political decision to suspend the country. And then, before they go further in the analysis, they ask that the high-level mission goes immediately to Guinea to meet with those who are ruling the country, assess the situation, and report back to the conference, the authority. So the mission went to Republic of Guinea on September 10. In fact, the mission was led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana, who is also the chair of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, and included two other ministers of Foreign Affairs, I think of Togo and Burkina, and the president of the Commission of ECOWAS. So the mission went and assessed the situation, and they had the opportunity to meet also with President Alpha Condé. And it was the report of the mission that was essentially presented to the head of state today at this conference, at this summit, and allowed to the head of state to have sufficient information to deliberate. This is what they did today. And in their deliberation, they said two very important things. First, as they did in the meeting of September 8th, they reaffirmed the importance of allowing President Alpha Condé to be free and ensure that his physical integrity be respected. So that was the very first thing. They said it in September 8th, and they repeat it again today. President Condé must be free without any condition and be immediately free, released by the military. The second thing they said was to reaffirm very firmly the condemnation of the coup d'etat, because as I said and explained, we do not accept coup d'etat in ECOWAS, community protocols. In addition to those two things, two decisions, looking now at the political situation and the way forward, the head of state insisted that the transition must be very short. Must be very short. And they even went to the way of clearly stating that the transition should not last more than 6 months. So 6 months, election should be held. They insist that because the election will allow the restoration of the constitutional order in the Republic of Guinea, and that's important, that's critical. And because there was a coup, and to give the clear signal that this is not acceptable, they imposed sanction. They imposed sanction on the member of the National Committee for Development and Restoration in Guinea, the new organ that has taken over. So sanction on those members. The sanction cover travel bans, freeze of asset, financial asset, essentially. They also, of course, reaffirm ECOWAS' firm commitment to work and help Guinea in this process of restoring the constitutional order. They insisted also on the close support of our traditional partner, the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, and also other bilateral countries. And they also decided that there will be a visit by the chair of the authority to the Republic of Guinea as soon as possible to convey those messages regarding the decision of the summit personally, in person. So as far as the situation in Guinea, those are the main take out the outcome of the summit that took place today in Accra. So I hope I have responded to your question. Any other question?
We'll now take the second question. Justice, you introduce yourself and the media organization. Thank you.
This one. Thank you very much. The name is Justice Lee Aduboy. I report.
Louder, please. I cannot hear you very well.
Yeah, the name is Justice Lee.
Remove you.
Okay. The name is Justice Lee Aduboy. I report for the Xinhua News Agency. So for the purpose of clarity, I would like you to repeat the sanctions clearly for us, the sanctions that have been imposed on Guinea and the military junta. Secondly, it is interesting to note that the heads of state are only demanding the release, unconditional release of President Alpha Condé, but are asking for elections in 6 months. They are not asking for the return of President Condé to power. Now, what I would like to ask is, what are the lessons ECOWAS has learned, the leaders have learned from the incident in Mali and in Guinea? Because today we have pockets of the precipitants of the Guinean situation all around us in the sub-region. What are the lessons ECOWAS is learning, and what firm measures is ECOWAS going to take, apart from sanctioning the country that is involved? What firm measures is ECOWAS going to take to ensure that those precipitants of the situation in Guinea do not occur in other countries again? Thank you.
Well, I think I have responded to that already. If you listen clearly what I said, the sanctions were very precise. They are specific sanctions. If you recall, in the case of Mali, when the first coup occurred in August 2020, ECOWAS imposed a general sanction on economic, trade, and the financial sector. This time, the authority decided to go on specific sanction directly to individual. So we are not going to have the general sanction where we impose a ban of traveling, ban of trade, financial sanction on all activities, financing activities of banking and financial sectors. So it's very targeted. That's one thing. Because, and it answered directly your second question, by having specific targeted sanction to the member of the CNRDR, we are sending strong signal to all those who are attempted to have this type of idea that this thing, they will be priced to it, very high price. Because the sanctions are targeted to the members and their families. So these are very, very tough sanctions, but they are very focused. The second thing, and I think if you listen carefully what I said, it's not only sanction. I said the other state decided that there is no need for a very long transition because the country needs to restore very quickly the constitutional order, because once you are in transition, you cannot address economic, social, and human policies to develop the situation of the country and help the people. You need to get back very quickly to a situation where the country becomes again normal, quote and unquote. so that it can operate, work, trade, and deal with all its partners. So that's very important. So, quick transition, restore constitutional order, and ECOWAS will work with them. ECOWAS will support them. And we made it also very clear when we were there that we will work with them, we will support, and with, of course, our partner to help the country quickly get back to the constitutional order. And then, of course, one of the decisions that was also taken by the summit today, I think it's an important decision because they have been discussing that ECOWAS head of state today decide to, in light of all those recent developments in the region, to revisit some of our protocols. Revisit some of our protocols because if you recall, the protocol on democracy and good governance is date from 2001. So it's 20 years old. And of course, things have changed in 20 years. We have a very young population in the region. And after 20 years, maybe there is a need to look back at our protocol and see if there are things that need to be changed, things that need to be modified, so that we maintain always the cardinal principle of the community. That means democracy, freedom to achieve peace, stability, and development. So I think it is a very important decision, and this is something that the Commission will start working on it to make proposal to the Council of Ministers and, of course, to the head of state.
Okay, we'll now take the third question from Francis, from AP.
Okay, my name is Francis Kokuchi. I report for...
Yeah, just one moment. If your question has been answered by the president, there's no point repeating the same...
No, I just want to find out what were the conditions that the junta gave to... Sorry. What were the conditions that the junta gave to the mission when they went to Conakry? That's one. And then the second question is, how come ECOWAS didn't stop the third term bid?
Can you repeat your question? I didn't get your questions. Can you repeat?
What were the conditions that the junta gave to the mission that went to Conakry? And then number two, how come the ECOWAS didn't stop Alpha Conde's third term bid?
Okay, all right, okay. In Conakry, I think the mission had a very first good discussion with the committee, the military committee rolling the country. In fact, we had very open, very frank discussion. We asked to see President Condé, and they accepted immediately, and we had the chance to discuss with President Alpha Condé, we had a long meeting, and as we said, he looks well treated. And we, of course, were informed that they were going to hold internal consultation with various stakeholders, which I think is something that is good. And we, of course, at this stage, noted that they were not in the position to tell us much, because if you recall, the coup occurred on 5th September, and we were there 3 days after, on the 5 days. The summit was on the 8th, and we went on the 10th. So they couldn't tell us much, but one thing we noted that they were relatively open. In fact, they were really looking for ECOWAS support to help them in this very difficult situation for the country, very difficult period. So they were very open. They were really asking ECOWAS to help them in the process of restoring the constitutional order. Now, on the second part of your question, why didn't ECOWAS stop the third term? You have to remember, ECOWAS is a community of sovereign member states. Do not forget that. ECOWAS is a community of sovereign member states. They have the domestic law, they have the domestic legislation. What ECOWAS can do and what ECOWAS did, we had several consultations with various stakeholders, various political parties, well before, during and after. We went there several times. The Commissioner of Political Affairs, Peace and Security is with me several times, and we had several discussions, and even at the high level. But again, community of sovereign members. Okay, sovereign members. So, our protocol are very clear about that. So some action and decision by member belongs to the member countries. So what ECOWAS, on the basis of our current protocol, can do is to engage them, engage all the stakeholders. It was during COVID time, we had virtual meetings when when the situation, the COVID improved a little bit, we went there several times. We engaged, we discussed, tried to convey messages. But the final decision regarding key issue and sovereign decision belong to the country. Have to be, and this is something that really we need to understand. They belong to the country. The protocol does not allow ECOWAS to go and tell a country, you have taken this decision concerning this, you have to change it. No, clearly. That's why, as I told you, the head of state decided, okay, maybe we need to look and revisit our 2001 protocol. We'll see if there are things that need to be modified or improved. But currently, and this is what we've done in all the member countries, every time there are elections, we engage the stakeholder. We try to talk to all the various stakeholders to ensure that we have credible, peaceful election. We did that in Ghana when the election was taking place last year, before, during, and send observer, and after the election. When there are tension in the country, we even send, after the election, mediation mission. But those key decisions about the constitution belong to the country. Those are sovereign matters of the country, and the country insists that those are things that belongs to them specifically. So we can only give advice, engage stakeholders, and try to see if we can really work to maintain and improve peace within the country. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. The last question now from Radio France International. Francis. Oh, sorry, David.
Thank you very much. Merci, My Excellency.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis Peter Sassou Dogbe, envoyé spécial de RFI à Accra pour le sommet.
David.
Je pense que vous avez sans doute parlé aussi de la situation au Mali. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut retenir ce soir au moment où on parle de la signature du Mali avec un groupe le groupe Wagner, un groupe de mercenaires qui va sécuriser le pays et former les forces maliennes. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut retenir en ce moment du Mali, Monsieur le Président? Merci.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Je crois que in French or in English, in English, okay. Okay, all right. So, yes, indeed, the summit had on its agenda Guinea and also the Republic of Mali. And as you know, there was a recent mission in Mali to assess progress in the transition. And in discussing the issue and the situation in Mali, the head of state first were very preoccupied by the slow progress in the preparation of the election. They were preoccupied, and they did insist, they reaffirm again, that the date set for the election, end February 2022, is not negotiable. We're very clear and insisted on that. The date for the election, end 2022, is not negotiable. And therefore, they encourage the Malian Transition Authority to really take the necessary step to give the timetable for the preparation of the election at end February 2022. So that, I think, is very important. The date is not negotiable. They have to give the timeline for the preparation of the election. And they were very precise. They want this timeline by end.
Apologies there. We have a freeze from the feed from Kempinski, where the president of the ECOWAS Commission is briefing the media on decisions taken today. Key amongst them, ECOWAS is demanding the immediate release of the deposed President Alpha Condé, but they're also hoping that elections will be held at least within 6 months. But then ECOWAS insists the transition period should be short. They're looking at a civil, leader leading that transition. So these are some of the issues that have come up. We've had questions from journalists about the conditions that were given by the junta when they visited Conakry. We're made to understand by the president of the commission that they were very welcoming and opened up for discussions as far as this is concerned. ECOWAS also at this meeting said that they're looking at reviewing their protocols in light of what has happened in Guinea and also what happened in Mali. These protocols were adopted in the year 2001, more than 2 decades now. They believe that it's about time they review the protocols in order to give them some more power, perhaps, going forward into the future to deal with some of these issues when they arise within the sub-region. So we'll take you back shortly to the Kempinski Hotel where the ECOWAS Summit has been held today. The president of the commission addressing the media. We'll take you back there when we have the feed from them. But the police service would also want you to know that the ceremonial roads that were blocked as a result of the summit have been officially opened. Now, let's bring you some stories whilst we wait for the feed. And students at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have welcomed the deployment of heavy security on campus, which comes amid threats of retaliation between 2 rival halls of residence. The Ashanti Regional Security Council, acting on intelligence of planned reprisals by students of Katanga Unity Hall, increased security presence on campus. Students have been ordered to vacate campus immediately they complete their end of semester exam. My colleague Ohim Interior of our security desk has been on this beat and filed the following report.
As they embark on foot patrols, random search and snap checks, the university administration says the decision is to prevent reoccurrence of a similar incident in 2018, which led to the destruction of property worth over 3 million Ghana cedis. Dr. Norris Bequin is the University Relations Officer.
About 2 weeks ago, there was some clash between some supporters of Unity and Katanga because they said some Unity students went to wear their jacket on the statue which is in front of the Katanga Hall. And they were throwing flying stones all over the place. We had to bring in the police to calm the nerves of these students. And because they did not get opportunity to vent their spleen on each other, they are planning that when they are done with the examination, then this is the time to show each other where the power lies. And we cannot allow that to happen. This is an academic environment, and this is not a place for fighting. This is not a battleground. Nobody will be allowed to stay on campus. We have security people around. We have the National Security BNI people around.
The KNUST Students Representative Council is happy with RESEC's arrangement so far. Vice President of SRC, Maurice Ifa, tells Joy News students are comfortable with the security presence.
We've not gotten that intel. They are the security agency, and if they say that they've gotten an intel, which is also, whatever they're doing is also in line with national security, I think that we have nothing to say, but we would support what they have proposed. There is no extraordinary reaction, just that the issue of bringing the security presence on campus.
Are students comfortable with the presence of heavy security on campus?
We've not received any complaint from the students because, as stated in the letter, KNUST has been a security zone since 2018 because of the demonstration that happened, and we've seen security around since, so it's nothing new.
Meanwhile, some students told Joy News the development will not only avert the clash, but boost security on campus.
Personally, I don't think it is affecting me in any way because if there's let me say, rivalry between these two people, it's basically between the two people, not other people. And then it's not the whole hall. It's just a group of people who are having these issues with other people. So if they are having the issue, it's not affecting me in any way.
National Security, BNI, and the police, they are all here. That does it, make you somehow uncomfortable?
No, it doesn't make me uncomfortable at all because I think during these examination periods, we have increased theft cases. So I think if the police and security men are around, it actually helps us.
Personally, I've not seen anything change, but also it has helped provide safety for other students also. Because recently my friends, they were attacked by robbers, and then I think with the presence of the security men, we will be safe.
I saw a communique around yesterday, and they were asking us to stay indoors. Yes, and then we should also go home immediately. We are done after our papers here.
How do you feel? Do you feel safe? Are you okay as far as your security is concerned?
Oh yes, I am very okay. I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm very much okay.
Oh, even in the midst of these planned, attacks?
Oh yes, since the policemen are around, I'm okay because I know they are going to enforce security here, so everything will be fine.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oimi Interior reporting.
Enrollment in Ghanaian universities are at an all-time high. With the increasing lecturer-to-student ratio, it will be difficult for lecturers to handle all their students and even come up with quality assessments. What if you have a system based on artificial intelligence that can help you assess your students? A system that can act as a teacher or a lecturer. This is what a Ghanaian academic at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has produced. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Debra speaks with Dr. Harry Barton Esel, a senior lecturer at the Department of Educational Innovation at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Dr. Harry Barton Esel, who has been teaching for 9 years, explains that he was looking for the creation of multi-modal presentations into an intelligent tutoring system.
Intelligent tutoring systems, it's a new idea in education. In fact, it's not that new, but in Ghanaian context, I would say it's new because most lecturers are not so much aware of it. Intelligent tutoring system in itself is an AI-based system which is usually integrated into learning management systems to act as a new teacher assistant. The whole idea behind the use of intelligent tutoring system is based on the fact that, now when you come into our universities, you realize that the student-teacher ratio is escalating. So most of the time it becomes difficult for lecturers to have individualized attention for their students. So I thought of this and I used my class as an example to see whether indeed I can develop an intervention to cater for some of these issues. So what I did was first to study the modes of teaching, how I teach my students and how my students interact with me. And I use a system called Adobe Captivate. Adobe Captivate is a software, it's a drag and drop software but it also allows you to code in action scripts and then JavaScript. So for instance, if you understand how to use action scripts, you can code into Adobe Captivate. If you know how to use JavaScripts too, you can code. All these are programming languages. We call them programming languages, client-side programming languages. So
the presentations combine text, graphics, videos, audio, and animations in a system that would provide immediate feedback to learners. Students gain control over their learning and can study at a pace that suits them best.
What I did was to use action scripts to code algorithms into the system based on how I teach the course. But the course is also organized in modules, so I made sure that I developed each and every model, like the way a teacher would want to come to class and use a PowerPoint. So it's basically like a PowerPoint presentation, but this one has a high level of interaction with the students. So what happens is that the students would go through with some videos were recorded of myself introducing the course. We call it micro lecture. And then I inserted them into the slides. And then I added the algorithm with it so that the students can pause. If there's something that he doesn't understand, he can go back and always refresh his, understanding about what I said or what he did not hear right. So that is basically what I did, and I put together all the modules. There were about 8 modules. I put them together. And then I published them as a Swift file, an interactive file, which students can use. So on their WhatsApp platform, I disseminated those slides to them, interactive slides to them. So when I teach in class, they can go to their various homes or hostels and then have an interaction with it. And they really enjoy the interaction rather than the females.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
My name is Ernest Min, and this is Joy News Prime. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll bring you more business stories. Stay with us.
In business, GIZ Ghana has launched a policy to guide the implementation of the Public Facilities Sustainable Energy Action Plan. The project is a framework by GIZ and the Ministry of Energy to spell out energy use in public facilities and to encourage sustainable energy investment in public facilities. Speaking at the event, Head of Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy, Seth Mehu, explained that the project is to accelerate energy transition in the country. We have more in this report.
The renewable energy and energy efficiency in the public sector project of GIZ Ghana has held one of its key stakeholder engagements in Accra to present, discuss and validate 20 action groups under the proposed Public Facility Sustainable Energy Action Plan, PFCP. Head of Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy, Seth Mehu, explained government's interest in the PFC project.
The government of Ghana and Germany entered into what we call the Reform Partnership Agreement, and this agreement is meant to support the government of Ghana to accelerate the processes towards energy transition in this country, i.e. to deploy energy technologies and energy efficiency measures that would help reduce the emission of greenhouse gases and also sustain us in economic development.
Head of Program for the Republic Project at GIZ, Benjamin Atiga, also stressed that the PFCP is a clarion call for an aggressive national commitment towards sustainable energy investments in public facilities through the collaborative effort of all stakeholders.
The idea of this action plan is to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency solutions in public facilities. The idea is to thereby reduce electricity bills that these institutions have and sometimes are not able to pay to the distribution utilities, ECG and NETCO, who therefore are impacted negatively by this non-payment of bills. And also, in the end, the Ministry of Finance ends up footing the bill.
Well, in a bid to address the increasing housing challenge in Ghana, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Development Association, Samuel Amegaibo, has lauded real estate companies Lakeside Estates for its addition of 110 housing units to the housing stock in Ghana. At the launch of the 4-bedroom story project, Mr. Amegaibo says any addition to the housing sector is a step in the right direction.
Real estate company Lakeside Estates has launched the construction of 110 housing units of its new 4-bedroom story houses to meet the increasing demand for story houses. Marketing Director Lawrence D'Souza reveals that the project was initiated to serve the elite or upper-class customers who are interested in such offerings.
Over the years, we have realized that we get demand from customers who love story buildings. Some, even if it is a 1-bedroom, they'll love it to be a story building. So we have taken our time to assess that level of market, and we realize that to satisfy it best, it would have to be not at a lower level, but a little at the upper level of our development. So we came up with this 4-bedroom house with the idea of satisfying that demand, which we have been getting for the past 20 years.
However, these are the specifications of the units.
The 4-bedroom story house welcomes you with a double-volume entrance terrace into an interior transition space, which has the main staircase to the upper floors on one side and the dining hall strategically located behind the staircase to offer some level of privacy and access to the staircase. The visitor's washroom is located underneath the second flight of the staircase. On the first floor of the 4-bedroom story house is located an upper lounge for family sitting and relaxation, 2 bedrooms which are all en suite with bathrooms and built-in wardrobes, a master bedroom which comes with a spacious bathroom as already mentioned, and a walk-in closet.
Speaking at the launch, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Development Association, Samuel Amegaibo, lauded the project, saying, any addition to the housing sector is a contribution worth celebrating.
And then coming to the housing stock, as you are aware, in fact, our delivery throughout the country annually is far below what we require. But in spite of the COVID and everything, you can see around, they've cleared the land, and according to them, several of these units have been purchased by, or deposits have been paid against most of them. So no matter what it is, if you add 1 unit to our housing stock, you've done something. Because if you look at even government themselves, if you look at government housing stock addition, there's nothing to write home about. We've heard about several projects that have been commissioned. We don't see them, whether they're on paper or they will come up later, I don't know.
Now excitement is building up as the Valley View University gets ready to host the first edition of the Joy Business Campus Roadshow tomorrow, which is Friday. The Joy Business Campus Roadshow is an outreach program that seeks to enable tertiary students access to formal sources of career guidance in order to help them make right occupational choices. Here's Chief Finance Officer of the Valley View University, Dr. William Sepra.
I believe that this program will help our students to be able to know the career choices they have to make as they come out of school.
Great.
At the moment, we are expecting, we normally graduate about 2,000 students every year, and this program is going to be a great opener to them and what they should expect. We train the mind, also which relates to the skills, and then the last one with values, that is Christian values, so that when you go out, the student will be able to have proper understanding and become a good person and not be a corrupt person. These speakers are renowned young entrepreneurs in the field, and they have been able to make a name for themselves in the field they find themselves. You'll be surprised to know that some of them, with what they learned as their education, is not what they are practicing. So I'm sure they are going to share to us an interesting insight in their life and how to make career choices.
Great.
It is our hope that students, especially from Valley View, would learn from them, and then when they go out, they will become self-employed in the future.
And we'll see you there tomorrow at the Valley View University in the morning at 8 o'clock. But of course, that's how we end the business news. I'll leave you with a summary of international business stories. Many thanks.
Time for sport. I'm Hans Mensah, and the president of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Kotendiko, has promised to produce 8 world champions by the year 2023. Ghana is yet to secure an 11th world title after winning 10 belts on the world stage. Kotendiko is keen on ensuring Ghana claw back from the lost glory years in world boxing.
We are putting up black fighters, Ghana black fighters. These Ghana black fighters are going to be a team of 12 best boxers that we have in the country. GBA want to get involved with management, with corporate bodies to support the individual managers. We have left this thing in the hands of individual managers, and sometimes it's difficult to get there. So what we intend to do is we get these 12 boxers, we camp them, we put them at the boxing arena to train in them, take care of them with the support of the corporate bodies and the government. Within 1 to 2 years, out of the 12, believe me, I can give or produce 8 world champions out of the 12. And this is what I intend to do. With the help of the GBA, the corporate bodies, and the individual managers, 3 teams coming together with the support of the coaches, we are going to make a lot of world champions. My brother, I've told Ghanaians, we know our strength. Our strength is boxing. Let us pay attention to boxing. Then people keep talking about us world level. We are on the map. You can call from DK Poison, Azuma Nelson, Nanayo Akonedu, Ike Bazooka, Alfred Kote, Kome. You can call Game Boy, Emmanuel Tego. You can call the Hitter. You can call Agboko. You can call Joshua. You can call Dogbe. You know, we have a lot of names to call when it comes to boxing. Other disciplines are struggling to take us there. We are begging Ghana, we are begging the corporate bodies and the government that we beg them. Let them pay attention to the sports that bring glory to Ghana, and that is boxing. We beg them to come and support boxing. And we promise them within a year or 2, the Ghana Black Fighters, which is a team of 12, will produce 8 world champions out of this team.
And for you fans of Accra Hearts of Oak, I'm sure you are excited because the club has unveiled their jersey for the upcoming season. And they did that in a ceremony earlier today. You're seeing images of that on your screen, having the rainbow colors. This is the goalkeeper's jersey, goalkeeper Richard Atta in that shot there. Radio Voca sporting that jersey, beautifully done by sports kit manufacturers Puma. And this is a home jersey of Accra Hearts of Oak for the season 2021-2022. Well, looks, and there's the away jersey that you'll be seeing the Phobian spot in away games. A free banner there, also in your short moment ago. Beautiful, color combination there, and the kit produced by sports manufacturing giant Puma. And of course, they renewed their partnership with Umbro, I beg your pardon, Umbro, Umbro South Africa, earlier today as they unveiled their jersey for the upcoming season. That's it for sports. You can read more on myjoyonline.com/sports. I am Hans Mensah.
And that's our show for tonight. We're grateful you could join us. You find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is PM Express, the business edition with George Yafe.